Good afternoon, IA members and all those who have joined this webinar. The main objective of this webinar is to inaugurate the Coimbatore Audit Club coming under the Madras chapter of Institute of Internal Auditors. And the highlights of this event will be, after inauguration of the Audit Club by the Chief Guest, Mr. Prashant, will give a special address on the topic Artificial Intelligence and Predictive Analysis, which will be followed by panel discussion on the subject Reimagining Internal Audit, Pandemic and Beyond. And now I request Chapter President Mr. Sathyananda Prabhu to give introductory remarks and then install the new office bearers of the Coimbatore Audit Club. Over to Mr. Sathyananda Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vidyadharan. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all of you. As you all know, Institute of Internal Auditors is the global body supporting the internal audit profession by way of setting the standards and prescribing the code of conduct and providing a lot of material and a lot of methodologies, audit processes, and all that. So in India, we have 6 chapters of IAA and a few clubs under the chapters. And the Madras chapter, this Coimbatore club is the first club we are inaugurating today. I really consider it as a very proud privilege to install this office bearers of this chapter in Coimbatore. And more details about IAA and its activities and all that, our chapter vice president, Mr. Manian, will be sharing with you a little later. And you all know Coimbatore is a education center, business hub, and very nice place to live in. So I have been visiting Coimbatore for quite some time earlier. I used to love that city, and today it is really, I'm very happy and glad to see that Madras chapter club is coming up in Coimbatore, serving the clientele of Coimbatore. So it is really a proud privilege for me now. And as a president of the Madras chapter, I would like to announce the formation of Audit Club and will be sharing the details of current office bearers. To give a little background, when we were thinking of starting audit clubs, because some of the chapters already have, the first place came to our mind was actually Coimbatore. So when we discussed Mr. Ravi Veeraraghavan, who is a senior partner with Deloitte and our BOG, he offered to help us, and he roped in Mr. Bharat. And Bharat really did a wonderful job quickly by bringing in others, Mr. Muthukumar as president and Ramji as vice president. So today, this is really a historic event for the Madras chapter where Coimbatore Club is getting inaugurated. I would like to provide a brief of the office bearers here. First, Mr. Muthukumar, who will be the president of the club. He is a chartered accountant, certified internal auditor, and he has certifications in control self-assessment from IIA, CSA, and Bachelor of Commerce. He has over 23 years of professional experience in internal audit, management advisory, consulting in ERP, and application development. Currently, he is director of Astral Consulting, Coimbatore, and Logic Valley Technologies Limited, Coimbatore, and partner in BM and Associates of Coimbatore. So he will be the president of the club and driving it. Then we have Mr. Ramji, who will be the vice president, Ramji is a chartered accountant, cost accountant, and he's a IS auditor also. And added to that, he is a past chairman of Coimbatore Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and he's a international certified trainer, speaker. He presents in various forums like ICAI, ICMA, and various other forums. And he is on the board of various organizations. He is on various committees, including some of government or CII committees. He is a member of Internal Audit Committee of SIRC ICAI. He is a visiting faculty in business schools and all. We are really privileged to have Mr. Ramji as Vice President of the club, driving it. I am sure all of you will get a lot of benefit from him. Then we have Mr. Bharat Kumar, a dynamic person, a chartered accountant, certified information system auditor. Adding to that, he is a master of business administration, MBA also. So he's into business, he's into audit and accounting, he's into information system audits. And he was with Deloitte for quite some time. And he has specialization in finance, accounts, internal audit, application reviews, data analytics, and he was with Astral Consulting, AppVX. He is the past president of ISACA Coimbatore chapter also. So that definitely will help us in running some joint programs. Maybe today you are all aware, IT, information systems, information technology, security are all very important topics for every auditor. So good collaboration between our chapter and ISACA will definitely bring us much more benefits. So Mr. Muthukumar, Mr. Ramji and Bharat together will be driving the Coimbatore club. So I am sure you will get a lot of benefits from them, and they will be able to make this club to reach greater heights. And as part of this program, we have scheduled a webinar and a panel discussion also later. And we have, I have to mention here, we have many existing members in Madras chapter coming from Coimbatore area. And we could get many new members also now when we are forming this club. So that way we have many members in Coimbatore will be, I'm sure, will actively participate in all activities of the chapter and get benefited. For your information, one is Coimbatore club will be conducting maybe monthly webinars as PDMs. Then other webinars also will be conducted. More than that, all other chapters, whatever programs they conduct, this information will be coming to members of the club also. So you will have opportunity to participate in various programs being conducted by all the chapters of IAA. So that is one of the maximum benefits you will be getting. So my request is to make best use of this, bring more members into the club so that everyone will get benefited. With this, I thank all the participants for taking time out on a Saturday afternoon to attend this program. This clearly shows that there is a lot of interest in you all in the self-development as well as in the professional development of yourself. And I can assure from Madras chapter as well as IIA that lot of benefit will derive from the programs of various chapters as well as Coimbatore club. I request all of you to actively participate. I wish the club and all the members all the very best and a great learning and sharing. Thank you all. Have a great time. Thank you all once again. Over to Mr. Vidyadhara.
Thank you, Mr. Sathyananda Prabhu, for the introductory remarks and also installing the new office bearers of the Coimbatore Audit Club. Incidentally, Mr. Sathyananda Prabhu is the chapter president for the year 2021, and he is also the Chief Risk Officer and Chief Internal Auditor of Equitas Bank Limited. And earlier he was with Chief Risk Officer with Lakshmi Vilas Bank. At the time he was working in Karur. That's why he used to frequent Coimbatore. He is very much familiar with the Coimbatore region and all that. So he feels very nostalgic about Coimbatore and Karur and all that. So now I request the newly incoming President of the Coimbatore Club, Mr. Muthukumar, to give his acceptance speech. Over to Muthu.
Good afternoon, all. Distinguished guests, dear friends and fellow members. Today I'm very much privileged, honored. I thank every one of you who have supported me, who have guided me and placed me and their faith in me and made me as the president. I'm truly grateful for this opportunity to represent this incredible organization, the Institute of Internal Auditors in Coimbatore. I'm happy to be as the president of IAA Club Coimbatore. I thank on behalf of myself and my team, Mr. Ramji, Mr. Bharat, the Madras chapter for accepting the proposal to initiate the audit club in Coimbatore. Especially our thanks to Sathyananda, Prabhu sir, for installing the office bearers. Myself, Muthukumar, Ramji as Vice President, Bharat as Secretary. And we are also in the path of appointing 2 more EC members, Mr. Venkatesh Prabhu and Mr. Sarvajit. Once again, thank you, Satya sir and all the governing members of the IIA. We are honored and we are humbled to have the privilege to serve this organization, which comprises of such professional, wonderful professionals who do such important work with high ethical values and the unprecedented and unmatched caliber. The IIA vision is to voice of the internal audit profession is advocating its value, promoting its best practices and providing exceptional services to members. This is the vision of IAA Global. And in line with the IAA vision, the Coimbatore Club would be tirelessly working to elevate the profession and enhance professionalism among its members. As you said, Coimbatore is a city of industry and education institutions. The club would be focusing on promoting and the profession and build awareness to all the stakeholders, including the student members whom we think we can give the career path of internal audit in their career. I'm grateful for all that I have received from IAA because my career has been developed in internal for almost 20 years now. I believe intensely in the importance of the work that the institute does. I also want to serve the same way and to do whatever I can to ensure that the same opportunities are provided to everyone for generations to come for the members of the Coimbatore Club. Our team pledges its support to the IAA Chennai, IAA India, and we have set a goal to broaden the broad-base the membership, conduct virtual events and seminars and awareness campaigns to make the stakeholders understand the value of internal audit. And those, for all of you who are listening, it is all of us to keep the association healthy. I encourage each of you to think about something that has inspired you in this event or outside, and to determine what you can do next for the association, for your discipline and for your profession. Thank you once again for the faith you have placed in me and the team, and for the privilege to serve as the president of IAA Coimbatore. I welcome your thoughts, your suggestions and your opinions. I will do my best for you, for the profession and for the legacy and for the future of IAA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muthukumar, for a very nice acceptance speech and also enlisting your visionary approach, what kind of activities you are going to do, how you are going to run the show. Thank you very much. Now, I request the Vice President of Madras chapter, Mr. KBS Manian, to talk about IAA, IAA Global, IAA India, and the chapter. He is Vice President for the year 2021, and he is the Head of Internal Audit and Chief Risk Officer of Apollo Group of Hospitals based in Chennai. and for the entire group, he is the Chief Recruiting Officer. So a dynamic person. I now request him to talk about IAA. Over to Mr. KVS Manian.
Thank you, Mr. Vidyadharan. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be part of this meeting, historic meeting, and to briefly speak about the Institute of Internal Auditors. All of us know that Institute of Internal Auditors is a global professional body which is devoted to development and growth of internal audit profession, including education, training, and research. Our institute was established in the year 1941, and today IAA serves more than 2 lakh members across the world from more than 170 countries and territories. Institute of Internal Auditors is known for the flagship certification program called CIA, that is Certified Internal Auditor, throughout the world. So we have major objectives, which I think it is very important to share these objectives when a chapter or a club is formed, due to which I wish to briefly state the objectives of the Institute of Internal Auditors. The first and foremost objective is to advocate and promote the value of internal audit professionals. Today, if you see, though we understand the value of internal audit, many organizations need to understand, and we need to position the internal audit professionals in such a way that they understand the value. So for this, the internal audit, the Institute of Internal Auditors is engaging with the corporate houses, government, and professional bodies. The second one would be to provide comprehensive professional education and development opportunities for the members, not only for the members, for the internal audit fraternity, I would say. And then also to pronounce standards and other professional practice guidances, and to conduct certification programs. These are the 3 major things the Institute of Internal Auditors does. Then the third thing is researching, disseminating, and promoting knowledge on internal auditing and its appropriate role in control, risk management, and governance. This is very, very important. This continuous research is happening, across the globe. Then next comes educating the practitioners. When I say practitioners, it could be members or non-members, on the best practices in internal auditing. This is something which is very important. And last but not the least is to bring together all the internal auditors across locations to share information and experience so that all of us gain from such rich experience and exposure. As I was telling you, CIA, the Certified Internal Auditor, is a primary designation or primary professional designation offered by the Institute of Internal Auditors. The CIA designation is a globally recognized certification for internal auditors. And in order to become a CIA, candidates must possess a 4-year degree from an accredited institution, as well as pass all 3 parts of the CIA exam. This is the requirement. Many CAs today, you see, are at a very senior levels in internal audit. They are vice presidents, directors, chief audit executives, and top organizations driving internal audit functions in the respective organizations. There are a couple of other certifications which are being provided by IAA. The first one and foremost being certification in risk management assurance, which is shortly called as CRMA. This is a certification. This particular certification focuses on key elements to unlock the internal auditors' full potential and validates one's ability to provide advice and assurance on risk management to audit committees and executive management. The next one is QIAL, which is in short, it's called QIAL. It's called Qualification in Internal Audit Leadership. So this is another premier designation for internal audit executives offered by the Institute of Internal Auditors. When it comes to India, IAA is present both in the form of chapters as well as in the form of audit clubs. We have 6 chapters and 11 audit clubs, including Coimbatore. We have chapters in Chennai, Mumbai, New Delhi, Kolkata, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. Similarly, we have audit clubs in all other important state capitals. Institute of Internal Auditors India is the all India body for all these chapters and audit clubs. So they govern the audit clubs as well as the chapters. IA India and its chapters and clubs organize a number of training programs and useful topics for members and other auditing fraternity. It also has a publication committee which publishes useful guidance books. Some of the recent titles are a role of internal audit in internal financial controls reporting. This is one thing which came up recently. And there's one more called fraud detection using data analytics. So, I mean, the kind of value they add through various guidance to the internal audit fraternity is substantial. Madras chapter, of course, is 44 years old, and Madras chapter was formed in the year 1977, and it is one of the very active chapters of Institute of Internal Audits of India. And there is a tremendous opportunity I feel with Coimbatore Club to come up. There's a tremendous professional opportunity for the internal audit profession as such in a place like Coimbatore, which houses varied industrial enterprises, also educational enterprises, healthcare enterprises. We call anything for, I mean, everything is available in Coimbatore. I'm sure the incoming and future office bearers and members of the Coimbatore Audit Club would contribute their might to promote the value of internal audit profession. I take this opportunity to wish Mr. Muthukumar, Mr. Ramji, and their team at IAA Coimbatore Audit Club to become an illustrious internal audit club by promoting the value of internal audit profession, by engaging with the corporate houses, and by conducting various academic and professional programs for the benefit of CAA aspirants and the internal audit professions. I wish you all the best. I thank all of you for the opportunity and for the patient listening. Thank you so much. Over to Mr. Vidyadharan.
Thank you, Mr. K.V. Manian, for giving a bird's eye view about IAA in a comprehensive manner. Thank you very much. Now I will be requesting Vice President of the Coimbatore Audit Club, Mr. M. Ramji, to formally introduce the chief guest, and requesting the chief guest, Mr. Prashant Subramaniyan, to inaugurate the club and also give his special address on the topic, Introduction to Artificial Intelligence and Predictive Analysis. Over to Mr. Ramji.
Thank you, sir. It gives me a great pleasure to formally introduce our chief guest, who is a co-founder and executive director of Quadra Systems India Private Limited, a global award-winning cloud infrastructure solutions provider focused on helping customers build agile and intelligent enterprises. Quadra is a trusted technology advisor to India's top business houses and brands, helping them to navigate technological changes and complexity while enabling them to connect technology with business outcomes. Quadra's deep skills and experience by harnessing a team that possesses more than 700 plus professionals, IT certifications combined with innovative services and custom IP solutions have helped over 3,000 customers modernize their businesses. Prashant has been recognized by Coimbatore Management Association with the Best SME Entrepreneur Award. Rotary Coimbatore has also conferred Quadra with their Professional Excellence Award. Prashant and co-founder Nagaraj were conferred Rising Stars of PSDIM Award during the Golden Jubilee function of the PSDIM. He is a Vice Chairman of Confederation of Industries, Indian Industry, and immediate past president of the Coimbatore Management Association, which is affiliated with the All India Management Association. He is also the Vice Chairman of the PSG Management Alumni Association. He is a member of the board and past president for IAMCP International, the world's largest community of Microsoft partners. He is also a charter member of the TIE, as well as the chair of the TIE Angels, Coimbatore. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure to present before you our chief guest for the evening, Mr. Prashant Subramanian, who is also MBA from PSGIM and also PSGIM, and he graduated in the applied sciences from the PSG College of Technology. He enjoys reading, photography, and driving. So over to you, Mr. Prashant Subramanian.
Thank you, Mr. Ramji. I'm requesting Mr. Prashant Subramanian, chief guest, to do the inauguration and also give the special address. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramji, for the kind words. Thank you to the entire IAA team for having invited me here on this auspicious occasion. Mr. Vidyadharan, Mr. Sathyananda Prabhu, Mr. KVS Manian, Mr. Muthukumar, Mr. Ramji, of course, and Mr. Bharat Kumar. It is indeed my pleasure to be part of this auspicious ceremony, a great beginning, and formally declare the Coimbatore chapter of the IAA open. I was just thinking as I was hearing some of the opening remarks, how important it is to have clubs and associations like these. Professional associations and bodies such as the IAA go a long way in promoting excellence in the entire fraternity. And it is absolutely important in an age where businesses are seeing shorter time frames. Every business is a family business that used to run for 60, 70 years is today, the lifespan of average business is coming down. The growth that a business typically sees is, I think what we're seeing is an era of hyper growth. 2021 alone, I'm sure all of you saw the emergence of so many 10+ unicorns in India, more than any other time in history. So in such an era of hyper growth, disruption, change, and transformation, I think it is absolutely essential that a body or a practice and a profession such as the Internal Audit Association need to be the conscience keeper of businesses and make sure that businesses are on the right track and are pursuing profitable growth, but at the same time equitable, ethical, and transparent growth. So it is absolutely amazing to see so many qualified professionals. In fact, I was feeling a little out of place with so many eminent finance and audit professionals here. What am I, an IT guy, doing in this audience? But thank you for making me so comfortable. And I hope some of the topics that the topic that I was asked to speak today is of relevance to you, and you see how that impacts your profession as well as all of us as individuals. So before I go into the slides, the topic given to me actually was artificial intelligence, the role of artificial intelligence, and also predictive analytics. But I thought I would change the topic a little bit and call it demystifying AI. And the reason, I have a reason why I did that, because AI is a poorly misunderstood subject. AI seems to be today, the panacea for anything and everything, right? If there's a problem, yeah, AI will come and solve it for us. Or if there is something people don't understand, I think AI is doing it. So there's a lot of misconception about what AI is and what AI is not. So I thought it's good to have an overview of what is AI and where did this actually come from, and what's the impact it can play in our lives in general and in your specific profession, and how things can go from there. So with that, let me quickly present my slides, and I hope the slides are visible now. Great.
Yes.
Thank you. So before we go into what AI is, I think it's important to understand that AI is not new as a concept. You will be very, very surprised to learn that AI, the origins of AI, go back to as early as 1920s. When Carl Capek introduced the term robo. And in the 50s, the Turing test, the famous mathematician Alan Turing, he devised the Turing test, which is basically a way of determining if a computer is good enough to simulate a human or not. So it's basically like you chat with the computer, and if you're not able to find out if it's a human or a computer, then the computer is said to have passed the Turing test. So AI, is quite old. It's probably more than 100 years old. People think it's new, but it's actually the origins of AI go back to over 100 years. And it's in 1956, I think, was a really, really momentous time in AI when the Dartmouth conference, where you had the Carnegie Mellon University, IBM, and MIT come together and then draft a lot of the founding principles or the guidelines that make up what we know about AI today. In 97 is when Deep Blue, the IBM machine supercomputer, finally bet a human being and made the entire world realize that, AI can actually beat a human being, and there are things that we can make which can be seemingly smarter than ourselves as human beings. 2010 onwards, for the last 10 years or so, I think is when we've been seeing peak AI activity. And again, this being a forum of finance professionals, in 2020 alone, $33 billion was raised by AI companies. So that's a massive, massive amount of money going into the AI ecosystem. And just to underline what I said before at the beginning, the danger or the greatest danger with AI, the quote from Eliezer Yudkowsky says, is that people conclude too early that they understand it. So Eliezer is a very famous AI scientist, and he's responsible for bringing out the concept of what is called friendly AI. AI that is not harmful to human beings, AI that is built or developed with the ability to make sure that at any point in time, AI cannot be detrimental to human interests. A little bit of background there. So fundamentally, what is AI, right? We need to understand what is AI. And before we understand what is AI, I think the need is to understand what is intelligence itself, right? And how does the human brain do things, and how do machines try to replicate this thing? The human brain is absolutely unique, I think, in the history of evolution. And the short of it, even before I go into more details, the short of it is the fact that we have understood human intelligence itself very poorly. It is a very, very poorly understood subject for all the MRI scans and the advancements in medical technology and diagnostic technology we have seen. The human brain still remains a black box. I mean, you basically understand how it works by feeding it input, looking at the output, and then guessing, oh, this is what happened in between. But not so much as to, this is like, unlike other parts of the human body, you haven't understood how exactly the brain works. So intelligence, I think, is all about learning. It's about understanding, and it's about connecting the dots. It's about making sure how do you adapt to new scenarios. You see something, for example, you see a snake, and then next time you see anything that resembles a snake, like even a long rope, your brain reacts and it understands, oh, this could be something dangerous to us. That's the power of the human brain, and the entire human brain thrives through very, very minimal shortcuts. I mean, you think of all these huge supercomputers, or even the laptop that you use. Forget the supercomputer. The laptop that you use takes an average of 65 watts of power. Do you know how much power a human brain consumes? It's 20 watts. 20 watts is the power consumed by the entire human brain, and it does it through a phenomenal process of optimization. What we are doing today with AI or computers is brute force solution to a problem. It's like guessing a problem, right? If I ask you a mathematical thing, what is x plus y, right? You can list all the numbers from 1 to 1 million, and then answer is probably going to be somewhere in between. That is what we are trying to do with computers today. But the human brain can directly go to the answer because it knows how to solve the problem, and that's, I think, the conundrum that we are facing. When we haven't understood human intelligence itself, how are we going to take a stab at replicating human intelligence or creating a machine that can think like a human being? So we start with the conundrum. And like I said, I want to demystify and help you understand what are the various terms that you will hear in AI, and just give you some clarity. So you'll hear of machine learning, you'll hear of neural networks, and you'll hear of deep learning. Machine learning is basically nothing but applying algorithms to recognize patterns and predict using statistical methods to go ahead and algorithms to predict what could happen next. It's like take Excel, right? All of you who have done an extrapolation in a graph in Excel have done some form of machine learning. At a very basic level, it is machine learning because it takes data from 10 points and then tells you what will happen to the 11th, 12th, 13th, or 14th point, or however further you want to go. What's a neural network? A neural network is us thinking, how do we, like the name says, how do we replicate how the human brain is thinking? And that is what a neural network does for you. It breaks down a problem into several layers. So it's like, supposing you see a tiger, for instance, right? The first thing that you recognize is, okay, it's a large animal. And then you notice it's got stripes. Then you notice the color. Oh, it's got yellow or orange color. And then your brain sees the fangs, it sees the legs, and it sees the familiar face of a tiger, and then recognizes it's a tiger. So processing happens in multiple layers. These are the neural networks that we talk about. And this is how our human brain breaks down a problem into simpler steps. And this is how we are trying to replicate the same thing with computers. Deep learning is nothing but taking multiple layers of neural networks and then trying to simulate how the brain actually is going to work. So where is AI all around us? The best AI is the one that is invisible. We think that AI is something that stares us in the face and tells us that AI light blinking or some green or red light or blue light flashing. No, the best AI is the one that does not allow you to know that there is AI there. So if you look at the picture on the top right hand corner of your screen, there is AI everywhere, but you don't see it because it is invisible, it is transparent, and it's there powering this entire new shopping experience where you don't go with a you don't go with a shopping cart, you don't take it to a billing counter, get it billed. You just go pick up whatever you want, and then walk out, and it's automatically debited your account. AI is there in a lot of areas, especially in the medical field in terms of diagnostics. I think a lot of you would have heard about, very close to home. You should all feel proud about this. Google works with Arvind Eye to detect diabetic retinopathy, which is a debilitating disease which can be detected very early with the help of AI, and also with a lot of diagnostic scans for lung, heart, and the brain. If you have an Apple device, the Face ID that helps you unlock the phone is a great example of AI, and the surveillance that we are seeing today in the world, right, again, is a great example of looking at videos, CCTV videos, and then trying to find out who was there, who was not there. Those are all areas where AI is there. So I think the biggest impact that AI is making is in terms of diagnostics in healthcare. And if you look at this picture, right, I mean, obviously, I'm not a medical professional, and I'm guessing there are no doctors in this audience. So let's assume that what we say is right. A human eye, even a trained radiologist or diagnostician, will find it difficult to detect the presence of a tumor in the very, very early stages. They can probably detect it once it's come to a certain point. But the beauty of AI is it can help detect these symptoms or these signs long before they become serious, and that is the power. So what it can do is it can alert a doctor to saying that, look, there might be signs of tumor here. Then the doctor can take a deeper look, and that's where the magic really starts coming. Now let me pause on this photograph for a second, and if you want, you can chat. I don't know if this is interactive, but I'll just stop this slide for just a few seconds and ask you, any of you know the photographer who took all these pictures? You can chat, or if somebody wants to unmute and tell me, you can tell me. There is something common to all these pictures, and I just want to let you know if you know who took this. Anything on chat? All right, I think this is more of one way, so let me go ahead and answer that question myself. None of these photographs are real. They do not exist in real life. Absolutely, these are 100% computer generated or AI generated images. The dog is not real. The blue bird is not real. The fox or the house or the mountain or the lake, nothing is real. And you can find out one place where the computer made a mistake. The computer made a mistake at the bottom right hand corner, where it took a tennis ball and it put two eyes and a nose and thought it now looks like a puppy or a dog or something like that. But that's where the computer made a mistake, and that mistake is there. That's the place where the algorithm actually failed. But for that except for that failure, all the other images that you see on screen are all computer generated. The dog is not real, even though it looks pretty and realistic. It's not real. And there are there are some more pictures over here of people. No, these are not AI researchers. These are not scientists. Again, none of these pictures are real. There is no man or woman in the world who looks like this. Each one of these pictures is generated by a computer. There is no human being who looks like this, right? Surprising, absolutely surprising. And that is why, and this is how I want to bring you to a topic of something called generative adversarial networks. And I don't want to get technical here, but what I really want to tell you is to and one of my objectives is to make you aware of the various concepts in AI so you can use this well in your profession. And to short, let me call it GAN. GAN is basically a way where AI trains AI. So AI creates an image, AI detects an image, and then you tell the answer yes or no, and then it fine-tunes a model in and in. It's literally like a snake or a dog chasing its own tail, or the image of a snake trying to eat its own tail. AI is being used to train AI. So the word sounds very, very complex, generative adversarial networks, or GAN in short, but this is something that you will hear about, this is something that you will see, and you will learn. And this is how a lot of AI advancement is actually happening. This is those of you who watch late night shows on US television, I'm sure you'll be familiar with both of these people, John Oliver or Stephen Colbert. Deep fakes, which are now becoming a huge problem. It's very easy to take a video. AI can take a video of one person and make that look as if it was said and spoken by somebody else. And here you can see the input and the output, how it can transform one person to the other person. These are how GAN or deep fakes are coming to the market. And this is important because you are in a profession which is there to prevent fakes or forgery or fraud and detect and prevent that before it happens. So these are all important concepts that I guess you will definitely apply in your profession. And we will come to a little bit about how that helps. I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but this is where AI is actually headed, and these are the areas where AI is going to make an impact. So I'm sure all of you have done some sort of chat, like computer chat or a phone chat with a computer or a robo. All that has happened. Drug discovery is being handled by AI a lot. In fact, they're going to the extent where today the trials. I mean, we are in the middle of a pandemic, which is the reason why we're doing this meeting on a web platform and not in real life. The reason for the delay, even 6 months or 8 months, which is an incredibly short amount of time to prepare a vaccine, is not enough for us. We want it the next day, and AI is coming to the fore to create drug trials which can be done much more faster and much more efficiently, bypassing this entire standard double-blind or randomized controlled trial. All those things can be shortened drastically by using AI. AI can be used to discover drugs, and obviously self-driving cars and planes which can land by themselves. So there are tons of these applications, so we're not going to go into too many of them. I just want you to look at it and see what the possibilities are. Having said what AI is all about, I also want you to understand what AI is not. Right? There is a lot of things that AI cannot do well. There are things that AI can do well, and there are things that AI cannot do well. And it's very important to understand so that if somebody tells you that I have an AI algorithm or I have an AI tool or software which can do this, you have to take it with a pinch of salt and then say that it's not possible, because today is the age where putting AI in the name of your company will get you a 2x or 3x valuation. Saying that I use AI, your TV is AI, your air conditioner is AI, everything is AI. Just adding the word AI makes it sound like magic. So when we are in this hype cycle, we also need to take things with a pinch of salt and understand what AI can't do. So things like assessing the personality of a person by looking at a video. These people are talking about this. This doesn't work. It is absolute, to use another word, snake oil. It doesn't really work. So there are a lot of areas where AI can't do well, and I'm going to summarize this for you in this particular slide. Areas where AI is really, really doing well, we saw some of them, is image searching or face recognition or diagnosis from scans, converting speech to text or text to speech, whichever way it is, deep fakes. And this orange ball that you see, you either have it at your home, it is a Google Home or an Apple Pod or an Alexa. This is changing our lives. It is you all face a frustration, right, when it listens to you, but you don't know if it understood you well. Half the time it understands you, half the time it doesn't understand you, and you feel like taking the thing and throwing it out. So these are areas where AI is doing a not great, but it's improving rapidly, and we will see significant progress down the line. So in terms of detecting copyright violations, again, or detecting spam when you get email, content, and other things. AI is not there when it comes to, sadly, when it comes to predicting a lot of things, predicting job success, predicting risk, predicting, human outcomes. AI is still getting there, which is why I wanted to give you an overarching view of AI before we get into specifics for your profession. So it's absolutely important to understand what it can and what it can't do, and realize where there is a genuine solution, where people are just talking about snake oil. So let's now get into your profession. Let me make it a little more specific, and then see where does AI and your profession merge, and what are the benefits that you can see in your own industry or your own vertical. I think most of this is self-explanatory, but I'll just quickly go through. The first and foremost is absolutely in analytics, and also in RPA. Those of you who heard RPA is robotic process automation, by using a combination of intelligent analytics and RPA. So again, I will explain this with a simple example. So those of you who have the latest versions of Excel, all of you use pivot tables. There are automatic pivot tables, Power Pivot and automatic pivot tables available, which can understand the type of data and then try to create a pivot table that best provides a way to analyze the data. So that is elementary AI or analytics available for you. Forensics, which is absolutely important to you. How do you detect compliance issues? How do you detect patterns? And how do you ensure that you capture the signals for a fraud or a forgery even before it starts happening? On the same lines, anomaly detection. How do you identify a loophole? I mean, is this a transaction, or is this series of transactions something like a loophole? Is this something that is causing that is going to cause a problem down the line? These are areas again where AI is definitely going to make an impact in your profession. And when it comes to reports, NLP stands for natural language processing. Earlier, you used to be at the mercy of IT people to get reports, right? If you needed to make a complex report, you need to go down to your IT team or to somebody with a lot of IT knowledge and then ask him or her to make this report for you. But today with NLP, you can just say something and it will get you the answer. Have you ever wondered how good Google is at understanding what you want? You just type in the keywords, it will most of the time auto-complete it for you. And whatever you type in, it's giving you accurate answers, right? So the way computers are able to parse human language is increasing by leaps and bounds, and that is absolutely great news for all of you, because you don't need to be you don't need to be an expert in AI. You are experts in your profession. AI is a tool that you need to use. You don't need to really understand how AI works, but as long as you have the ability to use AI in the best way possible for your business, and that is through tools such as NLP, you can just speak or type saying that, show me all instances of exceptional payments being made to vendors, and it can throw out a report, and then can tell you, and then you can use your human, because remember, nothing can replace human intelligence, at least not yet. It can augment, it can help you understand where the possible issues are, and saves you a lot of time in terms of going through voluminous reports and then understanding where to go. Saves you time and increases your efficiency and making you much more productive as a professional. Obviously, because it's database, you can cover every data. You don't have to be pick and choose the intuition. There is this term called hippo. Hippo is not the animal that we are talking about. Hippo stands for the highest paid person's opinion. There is no more hippo because everything is data driven. Earlier, the person, the CEO or the CFO or the guy at the top is a person who gets paid the most because he has the most experience and the most intuition, and therefore he knows how to handle something. He knows, oh, if this is a thing, then the problem is here, or the answer is here. Look there, look here. But today, data is democratizing that decision making and making sure that it's available to each and every person, regardless of their stature in the company. And I think the biggest benefit that AI can deliver for you is to make sure that you can actually protect your clients and make sure that every audit that you deliver is absolutely fail-safe. Now, let me talk about some of the future advancements. Now AI is advancing in 100 different directions. There are so many ways in which AI is advancing. There is, and I have just selected maybe 2 or 3 advancements in AI, which is absolutely, I think, relevant to your industry. I've picked up and chosen only those areas in AI which is relevant to you, which I think will make a huge impact on your profession. And one of them is something called graph neural networks. So, don't worry about the name. If you've been on social media, you use Facebook, or Twitter, and wondered how it is able to connect you with people and then show you the content that you're most interested in, then you have used a graph neural network. So this is simply a way, again, without going into the details, graph neural network, and I talked about neural networks a little earlier. A graph neural network basically helps you to take nodes and identifies the relations between them, and then helps you to understand things like, provide you applications in areas like AML, anti-money laundering, fraud, or recommendation system. So this is simply the way, for example, a credit card fraud can be detected, or a financial fraud can be detected. And when you see use cases, you should be able to ask, does it run or does it use graph neural networks? And that is how it is actually getting done for you. Low code or no code. This I think is a fantastic area for you. Superb, advancement as far as you are concerned. Earlier, programming used to be done by people with, techies, who learn languages like C, C++, React, Node.js, hundreds of these things, right? Now, the beauty is you don't need to be a techie or a programmer to write code, to write a program. You don't need to pay a lot of money to someone to write a program for you. What happens today is AI, just like I talked about NLP, natural language processing, AI enables you to take, just speak something, or take a drag and drop. If you see the image, this is from an offering of a company called C3.ai. You can drag and drop and then connect and say, take data from this source, apply this particular filter, take the output, and then run this through this algorithm, take that algorithm output, and then create a report and bring it back to me. You can do this in literally 2 minutes. So this is what is low code and no code. And this is revolutionary as far as you are concerned, because now you can translate your intuition, your knowledge of your profession into reality without having to go through a translating machine or through an IT tool, because you can now do this directly without any huge IT knowledge. If you can use Excel and if you can use PowerPoint, then you can also use low code and no code. This is a fantastic area as far as you're concerned, which will literally bring massive changes as far as you're concerned. So your data processing can absolutely be speeded up, and you can also apply things like machine learning without you don't need to be an expert in machine learning. You can just apply machine learning to your data by using low code and no code tools. Those of you interested can look it up at C3.ai's website. This is Ex Machina. Again, not going into detail for a lot of time. Then I think the other area is unstructured data analysis, right? The data that you deal with, a lot of the data you deal with, and I'm sure you understand this better than I do, in your profession is unstructured. It doesn't sit in a standard database. If you want to predict risk, business risk, there are structured data sources such as a financial system or a reporting system, but there is also a lot of unstructured data which is not in a database, which is not in a predefined format. Anything that is not in something like Excel or a database is called unstructured data, right? So that is something which you can never analyze in the past, because it is huge and there is no pattern. So how do you even put it together in one file? If I give you date and name and age, you can put it in an Excel file. But if I give you text, how will you store it? Will you store it in Excel or a database, or will you put it into any other system? You don't know. AI can help you take control of unstructured data analysis and then simplify that entire process for you. And there are so many outcomes as far as this is concerned. So forecasting, understanding customer behavior, and understanding customer behavior, I think is understanding people behavior, because you can predict fraud even before it starts to happen. And that's where unstructured data analysis can be a massively powerful tool in your hands to change the way you look at the way thing. And the last thing I want to go talk about is data governance and explainable AI. It sounds like something very complex, but let me put this in simple terms. You know what is the biggest problem with AI is the algorithm is so complex. Even the person who created the algorithm does not know why the result is so and so. Supposing, think of this black box scenario. You take input, you have this algorithm, and then output comes. The algorithm is self-learning and it keeps changing based on the input. So if I were the person who wrote the algorithm, even I don't know what is the algorithm seeing. Why did the algorithm give that result? I don't know, because the mathematics is so complex. I created it, yes, but I don't know why it is running that way. So the challenge here is that is what is called AI explainability. So if you use an AI tool in your business and the AI tool is giving you a report, how do you know whether that report has a valid data? Is it a valid conclusion that you are seeing there, or is it something that is invalid? For example, let me explain this to you better with an example. Take a scenario of where you take data, analyze data, and find out that whenever ice cream sales is increasing, the crime rate is increasing. Right? It sounds crazy, but that is what your AI algorithm is telling you. What does AI explainability tell you? AI explainability can tell you that when ice cream sales is increasing, it means the weather is warm. It means the weather is hot, and therefore more people are outside. More people keep doors and windows open. Because more doors and windows are open, the crime rate can be higher. So now AI explainability can tell you how this conclusion came, and it can help you to prevent a wrong thing. Because there is this saying, no, you torture data long enough and it can give you any result. So it will help you understand what is the logic or reasoning behind a particular recommendation that you're seeing, so you can take an informed decision. So with all these new regulations that are coming in, like GDPR, if you don't have an explainability or a bias monitoring, because you remember, this is again a huge topic by itself, if you don't know, AI is as good as your system. If you feed your inherent bias is input into a tool, then the tool is also going to give you a lot of bias. So this is absolutely important as far as your field is concerned. So these were some of the areas which I think were very, very relevant to your business. New advancements in AI, please look out for these terms. My idea is to give you an introduction to this topic. Obviously, discussing this is going to take days, but I hope I've been able to give you a little bit of insight into what these technologies are, so that when you discuss AI in your business, in your profession, you have a far better idea. Let me also tell you what to look out for. And I talked about this already, right? I said correlation is not causation. Just because you see correlation between variable A and variable B does not mean A is causing B or B is being influenced by A. No. So that's the example I gave you with this summer ice cream. And I also talked about how do you torture data long enough. If you keep analyzing data again and again, basically data, it's like this criminal in a police station. You hit him long enough and he will say, sir, yes, sir, I did everything. I am the murderer, I am the robber, I am the thief. Same way, data will also tell you. You keep analyzing it, it will tell you whatever you wanted to tell. So you need to know when how to avoid bias, inherent bias that can creep in when you go ahead and do your data analysis. Assumptions. It's very easy to go ahead and make assumptions on data before you have sufficient data, because doing all this automation and doing all these algorithms, okay, it said it's a fraud, go block his card. This looks like a fraudulent transaction, flag it off. How you need to know and have awareness of these methods and methodologies, so that you don't take quick and fast assumptions just based on tools. And then there is a lot of seen versus unseen, right? This is where I keep saying, people like you with your deep experience and with your incredible knowledge of your profession, you can always be 5 steps or 10 steps ahead of AI, because you know what is unseen. AI can work on what is seen, but you know what is the unseen patterns and the correlations that you can determine, and to get you the answers that you want. And before I just want to end a little with a cautionary note on AI, because there is good and then there is evil in AI, and you need to make sure that you understand both aspects of how AI can be good or it can be bad. And I'm not going to go deep into this example. Please note down the URL in the top left, which is moralmission.mit.edu. You think AI has problems that is easy? No, AI's problems are really complex, and you can go try to solve this on an MIT website, and your inputs will be helping to redefine the algorithms or refine the algorithms. So if you are an automatic car, right, and you are losing control, out of control on a road where there are a bunch of people walking, if you look at it, if you stay in your lane, the picture on the left, if you stay in your lane, you're going to hit one man, one girl, one baby, and two criminals. Okay, but if should the AI system then decide, okay, I should not stay on the same lane, let me go to the rightmost lane, sorry, the leftmost lane in our picture, and then say, there is one elderly man, there is one elderly woman, there is one dog, and there is one male athlete. So would you make a decision to say that, okay, one dog, okay, let's discount animal life versus human life. Elderly man and woman, would you say that a baby has to live more than an elderly man and woman? How do you take such a call? Or if that male athlete was, say, Virat Kohli, or some very famous personality, would you say that that person's life is more valuable than other four people's life? How do you take such a decision? So the complexities that are there in AI are too vast to literally. I just wanted to stimulate your thought and help you understand where things can go. But please go to this website and then try it for yourself. So just to kind of wrap up my presentation, a lot of times, movies, right? We think, I don't know, maybe Tamil movies or Telugu movies, they show the impossible. But at least some of the movies that we see, at least some of the, I love some of these movies like Terminator or Minority Report. I don't know how many of you seen this movie, the picture on the top right-hand side, Minority Report. It talks about a future where you can make predictions on crime before the crime actually happens. And then you arrest a person, saying that in 1 hour you're going to rob a bank, in 1 hour you're going to murder somebody. So I'm arresting you for a crime that you're going to do 1 hour in the future. So that's that is ultimate AI for you. There is a lot of thought about AI from top leaders. I mean, Elon Musk says it's a risk. Stephen Hawking says it's a risk. Bill Gates says it's a risk, and some people like Mark Zuckerberg, like the Facebook founder, say no, this is actually AI is good for us, and it can actually. So the jury is really out, even among the top intellectuals and the top entrepreneurs in the technology space, whether AI is eventually going to be good or bad for us. So the underlying, the fundamental understanding here is, please don't think of AI as artificial intelligence. I would want you to think of it as augmented intelligence. Just as the picture that you see on the screen is helping a man visualize something that isn't there, do something do a task when the object is really not there. AI is all about augmenting intelligence. So I would always venture to say AI is not going to replace human intelligence. It never can, because we have billions of human evolution here between our years that can't go away with 50 years of computing or anything like that. So augmented intelligence, where AI enhances our ability to do a task better, that is the direction that I think the world is going to, and that is the right perspective on looking at this entire thing. So AI should be probably called as augmented intelligence rather than being called as artificial intelligence. And to end, my slide, really want to say, so this is how many of you see this cartoon? I think it comes Dilbert series. It's there in all the magazines or newspapers. I will let you read the cartoon for yourself. It's self-explanatory, and I hope it brings. I laugh every time I see this. I hope it brings a chuckle to you as well. Now, there is one thing: AI can always be defeated by NI, and I don't know how many of you know what is NI. NI is natural ignorance, right? Natural ignorance will always defeat AI. No matter how intelligent you make a computer, natural ignorance will always defeat it. And with that, thank you so much for giving me the time to talk about a topic which is close to my heart, and which I hope help give you some insights and on this fascinating technology that is going to change our lives. Thank you so much once again for the opportunity. And I would like to pass it on back to the organizers for their comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prashant Subramaniyan, for the excellent lecture presentation. It is insightful, comprehensive, science jargon, and wherever jargons are used, you have explained, simplified it. and you have even talked about where artificial intelligence is heading to, and also you have given advancements in artificial intelligence like graph neural network, low code, no code, then unstructured data analysis, how you can predict fraud even before it occurs, and also data governance and explainable artificial intelligence. All this you have explained with examples, and good versus evil cautionary note also you have given. And last but not the least, you have mentioned about artificial intelligence and how audit profession is benefited, like data analytics, then robotic process automation, forensics, anomaly detection, reports and analysis using natural language processing, and 100% adherence, nothing left to chance or intuition, and protect your clients with fail-safe audits. All this you have explained very nicely, very comprehensive. Your lecture presentation is simply superb, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now over to Mr. Giridhar Janardana. He will be introduced by Mr. Muthukumar for the panel discussion.
I have to introduce.
Yeah, Bharat Kumar will introduce.
Ramji.
Ramji will introduce.
Yeah. Before that, I think Mr. Prashant, there is one question on the panel. I mean, chat box. If you can take that, Prashant.
Oh yes, sorry, I missed. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Apologies. How long will it take? Make people understand AI, and what about the cost of implementing the same? Okay, right. See, that's what I said, right? The best AI is AI that is invisible to you. So you don't have to be, an expert in AI to use AI. Like I said, when you unlock your phone, you use AI. I mean, does it even bother you how it works? You get it done. So in your profession, things that I talked about, like low code or no code, I think that is the revolution that will change your industry, and that is where each and every one of you can become a practitioner of AI without being an expert in AI. So I would say understand the subject. There is no need to go into the technicalities. Just like I don't know, you need to know how an internal combustion engine works to drive a car. I can no, but I can still drive a car well. You need to know what is AI, and my objective was to give you an idea of the terms, because when technology people talk to you, they confuse you with so many things, right? Now you can talk some more technology back to them and tell them that these are the things. And the way AI is going, you don't need to spend a huge amount of money. You don't need to spend a huge amount of knowledge or time. That is the way AI will bring. Please don't worry about the technological complexity. Be focused on the outcomes, and I think that's where you'll get the maximum benefit.
Thank you, Prashant. I think it was very nicely explained, and I think the second part of the topic, maybe we should have a separate session on predictive analysis. How you have introduced the topic, because there are 4 types of analysis. I think predictive analysis is the last one after the prescriptive analysis. So I think we will have one more occasion to talk about this. And in the meantime, we have our panel chairman of the moderator of our panel discussion, Mr. Giridhar, who is the founder and managing partner of Blue Ridge Consulting Services with a wide experience in various capacities in industry and professional firms. Prior to starting Blue Ridge, Giridhar was with Big Four, Deloitte and EY in their risk advisory practice. He's currently serving on the board of Institute of Internal Auditors, Madras chapter. Is a past president of IAA Madras chapter and is a committee member of COP membership committee of IAA India. He holds a bachelor's degree in business management from Bangalore University, a qualified chartered accountant, and a certified information system auditor, CISA USA, and is also a lead auditor, ISO 27001 BSI UK. So with this, and he is of course spent more than 20 years of experience covering ERM, internal audit, corporate governance, SOX audits. So he's got a very wide exposure in internal audit function. And let's now hear from Giridhar. So over to you, Giridhar, sir, to introduce your panel members and also lead the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramji sir. That was a wonderful introduction. So today's topic is about reimagining internal audit, pandemic and beyond. And we have two stalwart leaders, one from the industry, Sridhar J is the director, Precall Asia, and on the other side, consulting leader, Ravi Veeraraghavan, who is one of the partners in Big Four, and he's also a governor in Institute of Internal Auditors. So let me just give you a quick background about both these professionals. Sridhar J comes from a deep industry expertise. He has been the CEO, CFO, and Director of Finance. He has held those positions in various organizations like he has been working with, in his prior experience with Ashok Leyland, LMW, Arya Vaidya Pharmacy. And he is a qualified ICWA, ACS, and Advanced Diploma in Management Accounting. And he has immense experience in mergers and acquisitions. He has created probably a dozen international, enterprises and set up joint ventures with Indian foreign companies, and also has deep expertise in mergers, acquisition, disinvestments, and demergers. So he comes from a significant costing background as well, and he's been instrumental in putting costing practices in place like ERP implementation, and within that the cost sheets and cost audits. And he also has expertise in insurance claims, especially under product liability claims. He was a past chairman of Coimbatore chapter. So coming to Ravi Veeraraghavan, Ravi has very deep knowledge in risk consulting for the last 30 years. I had the opportunity to work with him earlier with Deloitte, and he is well connected to the industry's problems and risks. And we have two leaders on right on both sides. One on the consulting side in the risk and internal audit, and one is the consumer of the internal audit, Mr. Sridhar J. So let me just give a little bit, overview of what we can expect from today's, topic on reimagining internal audit, pandemic and beyond. So one of the things that we discussed is there are a lot of things that have undergone change now, more from the industry as well as from the internal audit side. The industry who's consuming the internal audit, and the internal audit profession who's delivering a service. Both are in a position, some are very permanent changes that has been done, some are temporary changes that has undergone in this pandemic. So given these circumstantial evidences since last March 20, we were forced to do a lot of changes. There was no time for anybody to think through, put a big risk management plan in place, hold several meetings in a conference rooms, and then finally take a decision. All this happened in a jiffy, right? So people started remolding themselves, started working beautifully. They started realigning themselves the way the industry wanted, the way it has to be done. So let me now hand over the discussions now to Mr. Sridhar J. If you could just give a 10-minute overview on what you think about internal audit in the new age of pandemic and beyond.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Girdhar. And I thank the Internal Audit Association for giving me this opportunity. I'm not a big leader in internal audit, but I've worked in different organizations in different positions. And I was in accounts audit, I was in administration, I was in purchase. So I handled various positions. So this has given me some insight where the internal audit should be. So if you look at things today, I think the world was divided into BC and AD. That's before price and then. Now AD can be divided into AD, BC and ADAC. AD, BC is before COVID and ADAC is after COVID. I think the world, this again has to be split into, AD has to be split into two. Because this COVID has really played an havoc in the industry as well as the entire, you can say the economy of the world itself has changed a lot. I don't know where is the origin and where it came. I think we don't know. Nobody knows, and everybody is trying to pass on the buck to somebody else. And today the situation is we don't know how it spreads. People say by touching somebody else or even coughing. Nobody knows what is the source and how it gets spread. Sometimes people who are inside the room for even for days and months get COVID. I don't know how they are getting COVID. So today the situation is that the business has totally evolved into a different position now. Say, in a way, I would say it's better. Previously, we never thought of video conferencing or doing analysis over internet and having meetings over internet. So this has totally changed the perception of the industry today. So earlier we used to have all meetings, every internal audit meeting used to be a meeting with all the stakeholders, and then we'll discuss the point and then do it. Today everything has become remote, so nothing can be accessed. So if you look at today, the internal audit, my views has totally changed. So whatever we are doing earlier as internal audit for even for asset verification or your stock taking or for your auditing of finance, or internal finance, everything was manual. People used to go through the documents, see these documents and then do it. Today it has changed totally. So we are in a position where now everything has to be done remotely. There is no way of meeting people now, at least for the maybe it was next 1 year, I think. We don't know how this COVID is going to go because we are now out of the second wave and getting into the third wave. The people say we don't know whether the third will be there or fourth will not be there. We don't know that. But one thing I would say on positive side of COVID is it really opened challenge to the industry today. To be honest, I would say in our industry, we would have reduced the cost by at least 5-6%. It's a major change in an industry. If a 1,000 crore company, a 5% saving on cost is enormous amount is going to go to the bottom line of the company. So this way, if you look at it, internal audit, I think my first question is, I think the audit committee as well as the internal audit has to change their entire audit plan which they would have formulated earlier. Today, I think you have to change your audit plan. Today, if you want to take an audit, say even a stock audit, today I don't know whether we can go to the stock yard and then take these audits because of the so many restriction of movement and other places. So how we are going to conduct this audit in a new normal situation? This is going to be a priority for now for internal audit. And secondly, now as Mr. Prashant was saying, AI is there, artificial intelligence. I think everything has to be approached in different way. See, so far, people have been in the internal audit, I've been from chartered accountants or accountant, whatever be the they have come out. They have been doing audit in a different way. Now, today, the audit is going to be totally different. They have to be fully aware of the systems today because everything is computer driven today. How people are, the existing internal audit people are trained to conduct these audits. How much they are equipped to do these audits. How many people know ERP or different platforms of softwares available? Everything is software driven today. So people should understand these softwares, how it works, then only they can do the audit. Because now the learning process is going to be very huge. So this is going to be a major challenge for the internal audit today. Because everything is system driven today. So if you want to do an audit of purchases, now the stakeholder has to scan and send all the documents if you want to verify the documents, which is going to take a huge amount of time for the stakeholders. If there is some 10,000 orders, how can you scan everything and send it? Otherwise, you have to depend upon the system where the purchase orders are created or the customer orders are created. Just go to that and then read that and come back. This is going to be a major challenge for internal audit. I think I'll give it to Ravi because if you want anything else to add on to this, because this is the major area where internal audits to change their perception and change their way of working, which is going to be a major challenge for internal audit today.
Sridhar, one point I would like you to add on here. Since you are interacting very closely with the audit committees, what is the expectation of the audit committee in this new age from the internal auditors?
So to be honest, my audit committee has clearly said how far you are going to be successful in doing these audits remotely. Because they said you have to equip yourself well to do the audit. Because so far we have been going and doing these audits, but now with remote control and remote access, we have to go through this audit and how far it is going to be correct. Because we have to be very careful about your audit. Because this is where the internal control comes into play. So all these internal controls has to be completely audited through your remote systems. How we are equipped to do this? This is a major concern for our audit, especially if we want to take an asset audit. How we are going to do this in a remote way? This is going to be because asset audit is already a major challenge in industry. The huge many locations in our factory is located in 6 locations in India. So if we want to do an asset audit, it should be fully computerized. Even though we are computerized the entire asset audit by biometric coding and everything, still it's a challenge how we are going to do it. So this is one area, and especially internal financial control is another area where, because all these payments are made remote now. See, sitting in home, I may be compelled to pass a bank authorization. How far my systems are secured? Where is the firewalls? If we start doing my passing of the bills or passing of the payments through the bank from my house, there are no firewalls. So you can't expect the firewalls to be in each and every staff's house. It's not possible. Only if you sit in my office, I can do this. But if you can't come to the office, you have to do remotely. So this is a big challenge now today. So how we are going to see that the proper payments are gone and the collections are perfect, and there is no fraud occurring. These are the challenges which is posed today. So this is where my my audit committee said that we have to concentrate more into this. Internal financial control is a major area where it has to be done. And how far the internal audit is equipped to do this is another question mark.
Yeah. Ravi, would you like to throw that perspective from a consulting and internal audit side, how we are equipped to do the change? What is the future of work and future of digitization for internal audit and reskilling? How much of reskilling the internal auditor needs to undergo to meet all these expectations? We can't hear you, Ravi.
Ravi, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, Ravi. We can hear you now. You are breaking. Sridhar, are you able to hear him?
No, I'm not able to hear him.
Okay, Ravi, I think you need to go to a place where there is better connectivity.
I think this is one of the problems you're going to face.
Yeah.
Connectivity is a major issue today.
You can log off and reconnect, Ravi. Disconnect and reconnect.
Hello.
It may happen.
Yeah, Ravi. Ravi, can you speak? No, we can't hear you.
I'm unable to hear you, Ravi.
I think he has to reconnect. Maybe there is a problem in his connectivity, I think.
Right.
Reconnect.
Yeah, we'll just give a couple of minutes.
Yeah, let us give him a couple of minutes.
Challenges of technology. டெக்னாலஜினால நல்லதும் நடக்கும், இந்த மாதிரி challenges-உம் வரும்.
Vidyadharan sir.
Yeah.
We can, if you could just mute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So until about Ravi comes back, maybe Sridhar, some perspective which I would like you to throw on into another.
Yeah, I think next comes is the major area is human capital, I would say. See how we are going to say satisfy your human capital, because now today, because of the new normal situation, many people are getting into COVID positions and they are coming out of it. And then sometimes they are afraid to come to office. When somebody is in COVID, other people are afraid to come to office and work with him. So this is a new normal situations, and how we are going to, because during lockdown there are a lot of disturbances in their families, and there are a lot of disturbances in working out, carrying out their duties. how to guide them, and then how whether internal audit should do that or not is itself a question mark for me, because it's a separate counseling area where the management has to get into this role and then do this. Okay, management of human capital is a different subject at all. So how we are going to manage that, how internal audit will understand how the management, how the people are, how it is going to benefit the organization, what are the schemes put in place, all these things has to be seen. Because this is a human capital is a major source of concern for now as in the COVID era.
Right. Yeah, Ravi is back. Ravi,
Yeah.
you want to take on that question? Yeah, little feeble. Can you a little louder? Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. We're not able to hear.
Is that
You
okay
are able
now?
to hear me?
Okay, sir, had some few views on this. Yeah, I'm able to. Is it okay right now?
Yeah, yeah, it's okay now. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead, sir.
See, one of the things, all these audit committees, I'll just have to tell a small story here. So how do we really come to work? That's one instance we were discussing most often, and most of the companies today are going from virtual, from a real world to a virtual world. And especially if you divide the sectors into two minimum sectors, one is manufacturing and others, okay? And coming from a manufacturing sector, how is the future of work going to be is going to be very critical. And one of the topics which even come every day topic is employee engagement. And employee engagement is a very important topic today as you go from one lockdown to another lockdown. How do you go to manage this situation, and how do you really venture out? And related to internal audit or audit subject, how do you really manage even our audit community to manage some of these situations? So this is a classic case where we start off with, because if I'm sitting in office right now, I'm sitting in office all alone, and if I'm trying to get somebody back into office to work on audits or something, how do you really manage this? And this is what opens up a topic of remote audits, which you mentioned. And that's where the reality of the world is today. Audit committee or governance or the boards have realized this is here literally virtually about to stay for more often than not. So how do you manage this situation as you grow from a real world to a virtual world? And virtual world becomes super critical here because you're going to do most of this virtual audits. So that leads to the next topic. You were talking about some of these challenge to industry. How do you manage this? I'll put back the question back to industry. Is one of the questions is, as you go for more digitization, which is you can call it in various words, automation or whatever it is, how do you really manage the situation? And most of my companies today or wherever I deal with them have gone into this direction. And this is going to be a very super important topic for the next 2-3 years, whether it's an MSME or an SME or a large sector company, and especially for manufacturing company. So how do you really manage this situation? And from an audit committee, we are closely watching some of these factors, because some of these topics from a fully automated, non-manual method to an automated method, it has a direct impact on the audit committee. And I just heard Prashant talk about artificial intelligence. I'm not even going into that. Some of the topics commonly researched today for me is data, and data that leads to the topic of data management, data governance. And so data becomes a super important tool. How do we really manage some of these things? So that's a very important topic for the audit community today. How do we really manage the data, collect the data, analyze the data, and go forward? So one of the right from remote audit, now we're going into data audit, and then how do we really train some of these things? And that leads to the fourth or fifth topic, which is cyber security, because the risk around cyber and the fraud and whatever related topics. We heard about this topic yesterday. I was just in one of those banks. I was just looking at this fraud which has happened, the ATM fraud, which is a lot of discussions happened. So how does the audit community react to this? We've got a lot of concurrent auditors, internal auditors, so many people around this. And this is a remote world. This is pre-COVID, post-COVID, rightly mentioned. How do we really manage this situation? Because you can do a teller audit, you can do an ATM audit, but how do you really catch some of these things? Interestingly, this fraud has been going on for some time, I believe. And when it happened here in Tamil Nadu, it got caught or got attention. It's been going on. It's a very smart way operating. So some of these technical points also maybe the audit community also should take care of. And this leads to a very, very tricky topic of how much of this audit community can they grasp it, and the super capability some of these things are going to go through. And this is a virtual world. As you evolve, how does this audit community or community service some of this? And this leads to a major topic which I deal with them day in and out. You're right, audit committee members. We're talking one other side is regulators as well. That's a very super important topic. So I was just reading one of the red herring prospectus of late. Climate is becoming a very important topic. So in this current evolving world of pre-COVID or post-COVID, whatever it is, climate and change has become a very important topic. So as we grow around some of these areas, as we evolve, we are talking new topics, but virtually virtual audits are here to stay, digital audits are here to stay, and then reach to a cyber audit as well. So I'll just stop here, pause for 2 minutes. Giri or Sridhar sir can take some questions, and then I can proceed.
So one more area where we are concerned is statutory compliances. Today, the statutory compliances is assuming more importance. And with COVID, there are a lot of changes in your statutory compliances. The dates are postponed. Where you have to submit your reports has been postponed. So how do you keep track of these things, all this by the internal audit, so that nothing is escaped? Because now, even if you look at the borrowings, there are so many changes in borrowings. The rates have been changed, and then your repayment schedules have been changed. So they are given moratorium for interest, and how this interest is calculated and added back to your principal amount, and how this is recalculated. Say finance department will go through, bank will give something, finance department goes through that and then audits it. But I think there should be an external agency to verify that things are correct. The bank doesn't overcharge. This is another area of concern where today, because of too many concessions are given by banks, how much is used by the industry? Say now they are given an ECG scheme where you are getting working capital for a lower interest of rate around 8%. So whether the company has got it, whether what is the eligibility where you are able to get the full amount from the banks. I don't know whether any internal audit people have gone through this and then said yes, we are done correctly or not. I think you can throw whether with your experience in audit, whether this has been addressed now. Because the last 1 year I'm talking about, not before that. This last 1 year has been so many changes have been done in financial department, especially where you have borrowed. So there are so many changes which is beneficial to the company. How far the company has benefited from this, and how far the company has utilized it?
Okay,
Mr. Ravi, can you throw some light on this?
Yeah,
go ahead, Ravi.
Good. Okay, sir, this is a very important topic. So on the banking side, you're talking about statutory compliance. So sorry, I missed that point. Everything is now related to some regulation or other. So that's how, unfortunately, our country runs, because most of the global countries are moved away from regulation and become self-regulated. But at some point of time, it is going to be self-regulated. For example, I'll just throw a pre-COVID or post-COVID, there's a GST example, right? GST has come to stay. Still, we are catching up with GST norms. Your audits are all backlogged, etc., which is a big challenge. Whenever I go for some of my assignments, either one GST audit is happening or some other regulatory audit is happening, etc. And this can be a very, it is a tough proposition. Now, there also some of our suggestions is how do you automate some of this, link it to your main system, and so that regulation becomes easier. This is easier said than done when the regulation keeps changing. But I'll tell you a classic example of the FSI world, the financial service sector. There is very, very highly regulated sector, highly regulated to that extent that every day they have to give reports, every 10 days they have to keep submitting reports. So there is some data analysis to be done, and then link it to your regulatory report so that at least you get a dashboard of some of these things on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Once you see the dashboard on compliance, etc., you pass it back to the reporting authority or reporting person who can be a process owner. So ultimately the data and the related regulatory compliance should be linked to that process owner. And this is a better way of handling some of this, because normally it either comes back to a secretary or comes back to a financial person, or an audit or internal auditor as well. But it's better to leave it back to the functional owner. And this way it evolves that the compliance rests with the person who really does it, And this has been an evolving process, but more and more automation on this thing we are seeing. And post-COVID has been a huge thing. There have been delays in filings. Yes, the regulators have been accepting, okay, the delays, okay, you can do something after 6 months. SEBI said, okay, but still listed companies are not willing to toe the line. They are trying to say, let's do it on time and let's do it. But again, there's the automation angle linking to your system angle, and then the regulatory thing comes in. So this is my simple answer, easier said than done, but it's like a typical system implementation. You need to look at regulations as they grow, you need to evolve. And I'll just tell a classic example, right? So you are opened a factory, you are going through the process, you have to manage your people as well. Now this track trace solution is becoming very common. You have to take care of your people whenever this problem comes or the impact comes of thanks to this disease. You need to act very quickly. You have to clean up the factory. Next day you're back in action. And this is a classic case how the Indian companies have really coped up very well. According to me, they coped up very well. I've been in discussion with quite a few of my CFO friends in the industry. Every day they are now getting used to this lockdown. How they manage it is a very tricky question. How they open the factory, close it the next day, come back to work 30% and 50%. It is a very tough situation. But again, there is automation to look at. How you can trace it, how can you really put something in place and work around it. So there's a classic case where audit community also has to work around it. And this is a real scenario today. Work from home is one side, but work in the manufacturing sector is also a bigger thing. So that's interesting how to note it. Sorry, Giri, you can go ahead.
Yeah, no, we just have about another 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. What I would like to do now is, the audience.
I have one more topic. Yeah. You know that the new audit trial, which was supposed to come April 2021 has been postponed to April 2022. So right. This is going to be a major factor because now every auditor has to keep the audit trial, and this is going to be mandatory. I don't know how to keep this audit trial, because internal audit plays a major role in this. Because now external audit and internal audit has to work together. Otherwise, you can't complete the audit. This is going to be difficult now because internal audit has to assess the external auditors. External audit cannot do each and every audit trial and keep things ready for complaint. Mr. Ravi, you can throw complaint. This is going to be a major concern now.
Giri, you want to take this on or should I answer this?
No, please. We can take it. Very tricky subject. After people tally, they are also MSMEs.
I like this topic very much. Unfortunately, this has been postponed by years, and when they suddenly announced it, there was a hue and cry industry was saying. But I'm very surprised on the other side of the story because you have software which keep tracking. It is not as if you don't have it, but how much of documentation is really questioned. And that's where the regulator should step in and say, hey guys, these are material transactions, keep track of it. Don't keep taking bits and pieces of information, throwing it back at the company and say, give me this data, give me this stuff. This again, I'm drawing back to the FSI sector, right? Mutual funds is a very classic case. Unfortunately, now going this scenario where all the data, you won't believe all the data is what the regulator is insisting. This is very phenomenally, I don't know what they're going to do with so much data. Every data is now being shifted to SEBI. And whenever they want to do an audit, they have the data coming in. But God only knows what they're going to do with this, because there is a data storage issue, there is a data privacy issue, there is a data thing issue, where do you have a data retrieval issue, all this is thing. So if the regulator can also put some conditions, if it's material transactions, material logs, key transactions, key authentication, etc., example for master control or something like that, that will be very helpful. Because if you're going to go after audit trails of each and every transaction, it should be there in the system. It's not as if it's not going to be there. But how much of areas, right? If some ERPs cover only certain areas and some ERPs don't cover certain areas, we need to look at that as well. This is where the manual things, wherever manual things have to go away. This is an interesting point, sir. How much is manual and how much is automated in your example finance angle itself? I'm not talking about operations. I'm not talking about sales and all. I'm just talking which is relevant for the regulator, or at least from a reporting perspective, financial reporting perspective. And it's a very tricky area, sir, but I think if it comes, it is going to be, I don't know whether they're going to cover all corporates or it's going to be only listed. If it's going to be all corporates, then all the best to a lot of some companies who really are not there. But but at least I feel it should be only for the listed companies. Non-listed ones is still a challenge today, but listed companies definitely can have, and this is going to be the biggest issue as you go around, sir, cost of compliance. And this topic keeps coming at me regularly at all audit companies. Ravi, you keep telling so many of these things. I've seen MDs and audit companies. Next time they might even take a stick and beat me with a long stick. Unfortunately, they are virtual, so I'm safer. But if I've seen now audit companies call me face to face, ask me very relevant questions. One of them is cost of compliance. And cost of compliance, yeah, how much you really want to keep it, how much you want to be on the outright side of regulator. You don't have a choice, but how much you can manage. And this cost of compliance really is a topic which needs to be really reviewed. And this directly relates to what Sridhar sir, you asked me that question. How do you really manage this regulatory thing? How much of this regulations can be documented? How much they can be kept in record? Because all this becomes a part of the record, and obviously this is open to the regulator to come back and change. But cost of compliance, yes, it is what we need to look at very, very carefully.
One more thing, sir.
So just
one main point.
Go ahead.
This force majeure has become a major because many companies invoke force majeure during pandemic times now, and then say we cannot make the payments. So this is where litigations are. Everybody is sending a legal notice saying force majeure, we will not be able to make the payments. You would adjust with this and all this. Second thing is now this digital is becoming total in the entire industry. What is the disaster recovery? How internal audit will see that disaster recovery is there properly? See, is again, I would say that maybe the artificial intelligence may come into play there. But what is the disaster recovery and how internal audit ensures that the disaster recovery? One fine morning there is a crash or somebody breaks into your system and then one server goes off. Do you have immediate backup so that the business doesn't suffer? How internal audit ensures that the disaster recovery is there in place?
Right. Great points of references, both Ravi and Sridhar.
Give two answers to what Sridhar sir. One is the force majeure. Force majeure is, I think we talked about it, Sridhar sir, yesterday, was on supplier chain management. Very important topic. Supplier chain, how do we going to evaluate vendors? We had one of the clients just post the COVID when it started. It's a very hot topic today. How are you evaluating vendors? And vendors can be evaluated in various ways, right from financial, KYC, blah, and continue to a business. And this is what most companies are now saying, okay, let's rationalize vendors, let's rationalize things. Now, where does this MSME lead to? Okay, where does it lead the MSME vendor? Very tricky question. Coimbatore is the hub of so many of these vendors. Now, how do you really manage the community? Okay, this is becoming this is called a supplier chain risk management. I had a question on supplier vendor compliance as well. So you were talking about risk compliance from a corporate side. And if you're going to a global company, they are saying how many of my vendors are really complying with laws of the land. And this is again opening up another Pandora's box. But this force majeure, sir, is a very thing. Whether it could withstand the code of law, yes, a lot of companies have applied it on some of the smaller vendors. Again, from a court of law legal standpoint, helpless situation. But the biggest country we are facing, our neighbor country, is the force majeure. Okay, how much can you move that business out of that country? And even today, I'm talking another nearby country. I don't want to name countries because this is getting recorded. This chip manufacturing, there's going to be a similar shortage. Nobody anticipated this, but obviously chip manufacturing is related back to that bigger country. So this supply chain management is a very hot topic. Again, from an audit community, this has come up to me in various ways. One is vendor risk management, vendor compliance, vendor continuity, and this leads to the important point, business continuity. Okay, this really gets into a business continuity issue. But one of my questions I keep asking, even though we claim, okay, corporate governance, etc., sir, most companies, even India today, are promoter driven. And promoter driven, one of the biggest questions to ask is, how is the succession plan divided? And this succession plan is a very tricky question. I go ask a promoter, he doesn't talk to me for the next 5 days. And after 5 days, I go back to the same promoter. He will say, Ravi, you stay at the security. I will check what you've got for me and then leave me. But now that reality show is something else, sir. I have now seen most promoters also relooking. Their family business is growing. The next generation is not coming into the business. now they are talking serious. Now post this pandemic, it's become super serious because you're getting old. We can't face this. COVID has thrown up a set of other challenges. How do you really see it? So for me, business continuity is one issue, sir, but the promoter succession plan, which is one of my biggest, is yes, business continuity. This is again a bigger topic, sir. Business impact analysis. People used to laugh at me when I used to tell this. Now post-pandemic, nobody even argues about it. Now business resilience is becoming a bigger topic, and also the promoters are saying, I won't say managing director, I'm using the word promoters. They are relooking the whole business scenario. How do we really run the business? I'll just stop here, sir, and take for any questions. Ramji sir is on the line. Okay, thanks, Giri.
Let's get it.
So I think we have.
But I think we don't have time now.
So it was great. I would say it was like a jugalbandi between Sonu Nigam and Shankar Mahadevan. It was fantastic. So industry perspective and also in auditors perspective on the consulting side, how do we converge both these expectations together and deliver as one team? I think a lot of challenges will be put forth to the internal audit profession. I think one mantra is just to reskill ourselves, ensure that we are on top of the game, and only then we'll be able to do justice to the new pandemic and beyond. Is what I would conclude here, and probably I'll give it to Ramji.
Sorry, Giri, just to interrupt. One of the questions to Sridhar sir and also Ramji sir is, how much of these audit budgets are really getting into play? Now, people have asked budgets for every community, right? Every process has a budget. But when I went into some of the bigger clients, I just relooking their audit budgets. You're right, sir. How do you really re-audit some of these things? How are you going to work in the new era? This is one question. The audit budgets are now being re-looked at. And how do we really look at special audits, your forensic audits, your cyber audits, your digital audits? Are we re-looking at it? Is there a thought process from the industry? Are we now really, yes, you need specialist skills, even though it might be traditional audits also here to say yes through some other manual automated modes, but how is there a real focus on the audit budgets, especially forget statutory audits. I'm coming from an internal audit perspective. How much can be in-house and out? And this is big time change, because I'll talk again from a bank NBFC perspective. There's a whole lot of change coming in that community. And so just a matter of time, SEBI is also going to come back and saying, here's your budget, guys, you need to, risk assessment has to be done in this manner. Your audit approach should be changing. It's a big mandate from Reserve Bank now for all the banks and NBCs and things. So where does it now? SEBI is just a matter of time. They have introduced risk-based internal audits. But really from a budgeting perspective, there enough depth meat for the auditors to really go back, relook? Because the expectation of audit committee is always, okay, guys, did you find this? Did you resolve this problem? And that's all they want to know. If you really get into details, yes, there is root cause, etc. But from an audit budget perspective, have we re-looked at some of these things? That's a question for audience and Sridhar sir and Ramji. Thank you so much.
I will give you my question on this, because I would, with due respect to my internal audit team, I think maybe certain areas has to be outsourced. We have no, as you said, cyber audit or fraud audit or anything like that. I think somewhere you have to outsource and something should be internal. Now, many skills may not be needed continuously in internal audit for the whole 12 months. Maybe you need these skills only for 2 months, 3 months. Those areas we have to outsource and get the experts and then do the audit. You can take the by circulation one by one. You can't attempt everything in one go, because the management bandwidth or other bandwidth will not be available to give the details. But you have to prioritize which is more important. If you say IFC, internal financial control, better to give it outsider and then let them look at it in a different way, because it's definitely helpful to the management as well as to the company, so that we know, say, even though the internal audit team inside can do that, they may be friends with the existing people. There may be some compromises. I don't say that they are not doing it, but let me be frank. You should give it to outsider at least once in 2 years, so that they have a full checkup of a full internal financial control. Similarly, on cyber audit. Cyber audit definitely would give it outside, because we don't have the expertise inside the house to do these audits. So somewhere you have to, as I said, the budget will definitely exceed, because we have previously say 1 crore I'm going to spend, you might have to spend 2 crores today, because today everything is computerized. These audits are becoming very important today. I think I agree with Mr. Ravi that definitely the budget has to be looked at.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Sridhar. Let me hand it over to Ramji now, due to paucity of time. Ramji sir, over to you.
Ramji, கேள்வி கேட்டதா பதில் சொல்ல மாட்டேன் ராம்ஜி.
I have two important questions also at this point of time. One is how are we going to face the new Schedule 3 requirements, because that requires a lot of almost 5 years. 5 years you have to start analyzing your creditors and debtors and all that. 5 years. So what we are going to do, we are going to relook the whole scenario. Yes. The other one is the new CARO, which has is now putting a lot of emphasis.
Next year only, after 22 only, new CARO.
CARO is next year. It has been postponed. But then the point is, like issues like your stock statements. Now, quarterly, the banks are now going to ask for quarterly stock statements. And if the banks are going to ask for quarterly stock statements, there should be some kind of a physical inventory, possibility of a physical inventory checking, or maybe using drones or something. We'll have to think about it. Like
Ramji, to be honest, I'll tell you, State Bank of India has insisted, they have appointed a separate auditor for us. We are paying them more than a few lakhs of rupees, because they have said big corporates, we have appointed their own auditors. And every month, I have to give the report, and every quarter, based on my financial reports, they give a separate report to State Bank of India. What you have said is already in place. And I have to give the stock statements, and they go there, and at random they inspect the stocks. It is happening. It's already happening. For the last 1 year, we're doing it. Tremendous audit. We are whole year I'm spending only on audits now.
It's a challenge.
You can say to my auditors.
So the more I think we talk about this, the more butterflies will be there, coming out in the stomach for all the management.
One more thing also I want to ask, why the government has removed the GST audit from auditors? I don't know why they have suddenly removed it. It was good. I don't know why they removed it.
No, actually the reason why it has been removed, what I feel, is GST when it came, it was the last audit which was being done. But then if you look at the results, many times it affects the turnover which you have already declared. It affects the provisions which are already declared. So the view is it should be done first along with the finalization, and where in case there is any short payment, you have to make adequate provision in the books. Now the problem which GST auditors faced, and also the statutory auditors faced, was what happens if there is a provision to be done and you don't have the width to do that. It has to be done the next year. Then whether if it is more serious, or if it is of such nature that it affects the financial statements, the credibility of the financial statement, then the auditor is at. So I think it's a good thing that they have removed it, in a way, so that the auditors will do it along with their audit, and the management, once they decide the reconciliation is done, and it's an internal process after that. The management has to take based on. So I think it is in a way, it is a step in the right direction. Maybe the certification could be given like a tax audit. That is a possibility. Yes, sir. Over to you, Vidyadharan, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Giridhar Janardana, for effectively moderating the panel discussion. And thanks to Mr. Sridhar J. and Ravi Veeraraghavan for interesting and insightful discussion on the panel topic. Now I request Bharat Kumar to give a formal vote of thanks. Over to Bharat Kumar.
Sir, one more thing. I think we should have one more session on this. I think this 50 minutes is not enough. We need at least 2 hours to have this session. I hope Ramji agrees on this. There are many points we can discuss and then analyze.
Bharat, there is already a demand for another program. You can announce one.
Yeah, sure. It's a new process for everybody. Bharat, you're on mute.
Bharat, you have to unmute.
Sorry, I didn't notice that. So hope we'll all meet physically very soon after this pandemic, and we hope to make more such events in near future. And yes, so thank you everyone for this. And so it's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of IIA Coimbatore Club on this inaugural event. So we thank Mr. Prashant Subramaniyan for inaugurating the club and providing a wonderful address to our members and participants on artificial intelligence and predictive analysis. We thank Mr. Sridhar, Mr. Ravi Veeraraghavan, Mr. Giridhar for being wonderful panelists and providing insightful session on reimaging internal audit, pandemic and beyond, in spite of their busy schedules. I wish to thank the board of IIA Chennai chapter for all the support, guidance, and information of the club, and instrumental in organizing this event. I thank all the attendees for attending this event and making the event a resounding success. We thank you for spending the evening with us. It has been a great pleasure, and we look forward to make more such events as committed by Mr. Muthukumar, and we look for the same support in our future events also. Thank you, everyone. We'll meet sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We come to the close
Thank
of
you all.
the webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We come to the close of the webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.